All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to continue forward with solving each quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, but we're going to express our answer in simplest radical form. But I just want to be aware that I'm not going to write the quadratic formula out because I do not have room on this tiny, tiny little slide. So make sure you have it in with the skeletal method for each example so we can kind of move on, okay? So your first step is make sure it's set equal to 0, which it is. Check. Label A, B, and C. A is equal to 1, which is the number in front of A squared. B is equal to -2, the number in front of A. And C is -2, the constant. So then the next step is write out your formula, which we have is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you just need to put the skeletal framework, which means -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, the skeletal framework is purposely there so we don't make mistakes and we just fill in the right numbers. So now we're going to fill in the numbers. The first one is -b. Well, b is -2, so I'll put -2 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Again, fill in -2 minus 4a is 1, c is -2, all over 2a is 1. Now we're going to calculate the three spots, 1, 2, and 3. Remember, do not put in the radical sign when calculating. So in your calculator, you're going to plug in, I didn't do the full screen, sorry, negative, parenthesis, -2, close it, enter. You should get 2 plus or minus radical. Now, when you plug into your calculator, parenthesis, -2 squared minus 4 times 1 times -2, you should end up with 12. All over 2 times 1 is 2, okay? Now the next step is to separate. So we have x equals 2 plus radical 12 over 2, and x equals 2 minus radical 12 over 2. Now the next step is really important. We said to write it in simplest radical form. So the big deal is get that 12 into simplest radical form. Now, I don't really have a lot of room, so I'm going to do it up in the corner over here. So we have radical 12. We're going to divide backwards. First number to go into 12 is 9. 9 does not go into 12. Next perfect square is 4. Yes, 4 does go into it. And you get 3. So the 4 turns into a 2, and the 3 stays. So what we're going to do is we're going to now replace all the 12s with 2 radical 3. So I get 2 plus 2 radical 3 over 2, and x equals 2 minus 2 radical 3 over 2. Okay, so now I'm going to have to squish it in because it still says in simplest radical form, which means I need to simplify that trio over here. The 2, the 1, 2, and the 2 should all simplify to 1, 1, and 1. So this should equal 1 plus radical 3. You don't need the 1 on the bottom. If it was a different number, yes, you would need it. All right. Now the next one is simplify those 3, and you have 1, 1, and 1. So we're left with equals 1 minus 1 radical 3. Now you could drop the 1 like I did in the first one, or keep the 1. It doesn't matter. All right, so that's how you solve the first example using the quadratic formula in simplest radical form.